It is April 19th. It's a Sunday. I'm currently in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I wasn't able to film much this week because I had to do a little bit of housework, schoolwork, work at South Point, so didn't have a lot of time. But this week I wanted to talk about social media and the coronavirus because I've seen a lot of posts recently, especially one yesterday, so I wanted to be sure that I talked about that specifically on camera because it involves my family, sort of. It's not particularly negative, but it involves one of my sisters and someone she went to school with having opposite opinions and then creating what could be said negative dialogue surrounding the coronavirus and our current government situation, especially with Andy Beshear as our new governor. I thought it would be interesting just to scroll through social media in the saved tabs I've made on Facebook to see what people have said. But this was posted from WPKO. It's a story from them. That's where a lot of my things come up because of the location I'm in Glasgow, so it's one of our news outlets. Kroger limiting number of customers inside stores to help reduce spread of coronavirus. This isn't necessarily just Kroger. This also Walmart and Liquor Barn and other stores have limited to one person per household, with the exception of someone that is disabled or a child that can't be left alone because there's a single parent household or they can't get childcare. But this seems to be also ticking a lot of people off for some reason, even though it's just a precaution. It's just a new policy people are making. I mean, it's nothing different than social distancing. Another news story from NBC News from April 2nd talks about fake coronavirus testing sites appearing in Kentucky, where several fake pop-up testing sites are charging $240 in Louisville for testing for coronavirus, for fake testing. That doesn't surprise me because with the overpricing and price gouging of hand sanitizer, toilet paper, paper towels, stuff like that, this would only be the next step. I mean, it makes sense for people that are just trying to take people down on their luck even more than what they are. It's just not a surprise, which I think is a shame because there have been some good people show out during all of this, but there's got to be some bad eggs in there. That's just going to happen. Another story from WBKO that is nothing around this area, it probably just made national news, was a Massachusetts man accused of spitting, coughing in grocery store during coronavirus outbreak. And this was in Kingston, Massachusetts, and this was from April 6th. It says, a wild scene erupted Saturday morning at a Massachusetts grocery store after shoppers claimed a man was spitting in the produce aisle. Yeah, Kingston police told WBZ, I guess it's their outlet there, that a 65-year-old man was coughing and spitting before becoming confrontational with employees and witnesses at a Stop and Shop. Cell phone video showed three men subduing the alleged spitter. The person who captured the video and the man was coughing and spitting on the produce, but police didn't say if the man's spit hit the actual items. It was good that the grocery store here had the employees get rid of all the produce that may have been infected, quote unquote, if he has the virus, but and then do a deep cleaning. And then the police said there was no indication that he has COVID-19. That doesn't really mean anything because most people are asymptomatic anyway, so if he does have it, you probably wouldn't notice. But he was taken to a hospital to be evaluated. Good on them. And he could face charges including destruction of property and assault and battery, and the store banned him for life. So that's also good. That's just 3 stories I shared. Another thing with people keeping up in all these news outlets sharing this, like, constantly updating about the virus, is that they're always like, what's happening in our area, what's happening. They always want an update, they always want to keep up with stuff, but it's like they're worrying so much about the virus that they're like worrying themselves to death. That they don't realize that if you're high stress that also affects your immune system and that makes you more susceptible to things. So you just need to keep calm, because if you don't, you're probably going to make yourself sick. And then I'm going to talk about real quick the post that my sister made. But this is towards a girl she went to school with. And she says, "This is what you sound like when you like to complain, but here we are." And the meme, the governor and the alt-right in Kentucky, and below, it's the first top left corner is Andy Beshear, and in the top right next to him, it says, "I'm going to ask everyone to be considerate of the sick and the elderly. Just be good people." And the bottom left is a bunch of white men carrying torches, and of course with angry expressions. And the text next to it says, "He's gonna put us all in Auschwitz and make us all get abortions and get gay, married, and speak Spanish." Which I do have to say, I thought that funny. Not gonna lie. But then, of course, arguing ensues, and this girl tries to argue saying, except that is not what he's saying. He started with that when Corona first started attacking the state, and I supported him for it. That is no longer his message. Next, you got two of my sister's other friends who also really approve of Beshear, asking, then what is his message, and when did he say that everyone must obey him? Because this is the girl's point, is that he's trying to tell everybody what to do as if he's not doing his job. He's trying to protect all of Kentucky. That is his job. He is meant to govern and help us stay safe. But she claims that everyone must obey him or be punished, even when what they are doing is not against the law. Except in the time of a state of emergency, which is what this is, he can tell the state of Kentucky what to do. That's his job. She's under the impression that by telling people they can't congregate for Easter Sunday or meet up in groups and meet their friends and their family and just stay alone for all of this, that he's putting unnecessary restrictions on people and forcing them to do something they don't want to do. She is implying that everyone's rights are more important than the health of the public. That's what I get from this, at least. She's thinking that while we're under this quarantine, we should also have our rights to meet people, even though that undermines the purpose of a quarantine. I'm going to put that out there. Another interesting tidbit is that she also brings abortion into the conversation, even though it's completely irrelevant to what's going on. She says, in response to one of my other sister's friends saying that you act like he's throwing them in prison or something as a response of not following the rules of quarantine. He just said that their license plate numbers will be sent to the health department, who will require them to quarantine themselves for the 2 weeks. That's literally it. If you make your bed, you lay in it. That's what she said. And then this girl, who is the target of the post, says, if that's true, then knowingly killing your baby before it is born seems a little illegal to me, but abortions are still going on as we speak, but it doesn't work for you when it's turned around, does it? You crack me up. So it's kind of ironic to divert the situation into another problem, another social problem, not just a problem, that of course everyone doesn't agree with, just like they don't with Andy Beshear's choices, but he's in the position to make choices for everybody. He has to look at the overall group. That's his job, part of his job, to keep everybody safe, like I said before. Abortion has nothing to do with the situation, and I cannot specify that enough, but that's an issue for a later date. And this girl, I don't know why she sought the need to mention that, but I don't know. I think it was some kind of comparison she tried to make, that you're making choices for people that can't make choices for themselves, or you're putting them in a position to not make choices for themselves, even though the situations are really not the same at all, but I won't get into that. And then, of course, my sister has to bring up talking about foster care. Also, now, my sister-in-law has joined into all of the drama, I'll say. And she says, just so you know, we are in a national state of emergency. You have no rights. Also, our state is in a state of emergency, which also means that other actions can be taken that usually you wouldn't be able to. You need to educate yourself and stop spreading your stupid shit. And then this is where I join in. This is later in the day after everyone's already stopped really going and having at it. But I feel the need to say something at some point because she's messaging my sister at this point talking about it. But I have to say, this is my word on it. You need to understand that your rights end where someone else's starts, and that someone's life is more important than anyone's rights. That's why everyone that can stay inside, i.e. non-essential workers, must stay inside or away from people they haven't been around since the start of quarantine. Going to church is not essential when the virus spreads due to large groups being in close contact and many are asymptomatic. Your right to go to church does not supersede another's life. And then she comments saying, I understand what you're saying, but I feel Bashir has way too much power, but it's an opinion, we all have one. And then I say, see, I think the opposite. He's trying to squash this out as fast as possible, but considering people are going out in groups and ruining this for everyone, it elongates our time in quarantine and will cause an increase in cases later. But not everything's negative, because you've got groups being made for memes and things like that, and considering I think a lot of people in Kentucky are really liking Andy Bashir and his policies. There's a meme group on Facebook called Andy Bashir Memes for Social Distancing Teens, and it's incredibly funny because it's not just teens, it's literally everyone of every age, but a lot of my friends are in it. Even it's funny enough that my boyfriend's father added me to the group, and he's like 60 years old. So I think it's very funny. But it's got to the point where people are making car decals. I saw one earlier saying Bay Shear. They're making shirts, they're making memes online, they're making stickers. They're literally everyone that I know is supporting him just about. Except for some conservatives, but not feeling it. And then everyone's just so hyped up about the 5 p.m. talks with Andy. And kids are obsessed with it. They're loving it. People are sharing their kids making drawings, dressing up like Andy in Virginia. And it's literally cute as hell. Even though for the amount of people that aren't cooperating with this, or they're making it really difficult to deal with and get through with the quarantine, there's just as many people, if not more, that are supporting each other through all of this. They're supporting the essential workers. They're supporting the healthcare workers that are literally risking their lives for this virus that's taking people of any age. They're supporting each other. They're helping each other out. They're helping out people with kids. They're, like the fire department and the police, they're willing to do parades for kids that are with their birthdays going in the middle of quarantine. And I think that's just really freaking cool. I don't think people have realized this, but Virginia being on TV and signing, that's teaching these kids and these adults and everyone watching how to sign. I think that's funny because I don't think a lot of people have noticed that, but I'm not surprised because they're just like, oh, this is entertaining. This guy is so cool and he's so gung-ho for helping people. But it's like, your kids are sitting there watching this woman enthusiastically because she has to match the tone for people to understand things when they can't hear it. She's matching whatever he's saying with her facial expressions and whatnot. She's teaching these kids how to do that. They're understanding tone and representation and symbolism, things like that. It's just really funny that, like, it's ironic. This is the overall point, I think, of social media. It's like this. It's good and it's bad. But you always have the good and the bad of something because without one of them, you can't have both of them. So, you can't have anything if you don't have both. Because if you don't know what's bad, then you'll never know what's great. or if you're always at your highest, you don't know what your low is. It's just something to remember, that even though we've got people like that girl that my sister was arguing with that doesn't agree with Governor Beshear making these policies to keep people inside and to reprimand them for staying inside, it just, if you don't have that, then you don't have the people acknowledging the others that are out there risking their lives to work. Like, you just gotta have a give and take, no matter what. It's just something to remember.